Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Tony Zhang. I am the Chief Strategist here at OptionsPlay, and today we're just going to do a quick walkthrough of the OptionsPlay platform. I'm doing this webinar because, let's see, sorry, one second. So today we're doing this webinar because I wanted to take some time and actually walk everyone through the platform. Usually we do these webinars, we talk about a specific trading strategy. Today I wanted to take the time out and actually just walk you guys through the platform itself, why we created it, and really show you how we utilize this platform in our everyday lives with our trading. So today we're going to go over as much of the platform as possible, showing you all different types of bells and whistles, perhaps certain things that you might not have seen before in some of the webinars, really going over everything in detail of how to utilize our platform to find a trade idea, utilize that to find a trading strategy, and really walk everyone through how to utilize this platform. And regardless of whether you're brand new for options trading or if you're an experienced options trader, we really want to show you how this platform can make your life as easy as possible. We started this company 5 years ago, really with the intentions of making options education and trading as accessible to as many people as possible. So if you're brand new, this platform is really designed to help you guys learn more about options trading, making sure that you're able to look at ideas without being overwhelmed by some of the other trading platforms that may be out there. And then for those of you that are experienced with options trading, this is really designed to make your lives a lot more efficient. We want to turn your research for underlying research for stocks and options down from a few minutes down to just a few seconds using the technology that we've created. So how many of you are brand new to options trading? If you're brand new, please type new into the chat window. And if you've been trading options for a while, please type no into the chat window, just so I can have a feel for who's new and who's been trading for a while. Okay, so a few new people, which is great. So again, for those of you that are new to options trading, welcome. I hope this platform inspires you to take a look at options trading. It's really designed to help facilitate exploring of option strategies, especially if you don't know where to start, especially if you've ever looked at an option chain before and felt confused as to where you should look at, where you should start, which expiration, which strike price. This is certainly not a very user-friendly starting point for most people, especially if you're learning. And for those of you that have experience trading, you'll know that this page is very useful, but a lot of things that you need to do, like comparing one strategy to another, is not available through the option chains, nor if you felt that the stock was going to go up by 10% or down by 10%, how much money do you actually make from each one of these strategies? Those types of calculations you usually have to do either in your head or you have to go to another screen to do those types of calculations. We wanted to merge all of that into one single screen so that you didn't have to have 4 monitors on your desktop to trade options like I did before we started OptionsPlay. So today I'm going to walk you guys through this platform, show you how we use this platform so that hopefully you guys can have some ideas of how to navigate this very quickly and be able to leave this webinar and start looking at some ideas and start placing some trades. So I'm going to start off by just saying that before you get started on this platform, if at any point you have any questions, if you come across something you don't know, there's always this button here in the upper right-hand corner that says questions, ask us. That's the quickest way to get to our support team. If you have a question regarding the actual platform or a specific trade, feel free to do that. You can send us a message directly from the platform. Great way to get in touch with us really quickly. And for those of you that are looking to learn about options trading, there's a button here on the bottom that's called Learn to Trade Options. I highly recommend you to take a look. It takes you to our webinar recording. So we do a lot of different webinars on a lot of different topics. All of them, with the latest ones, are all curated for you in this playlist. So I highly recommend, if you're learning options or if you're still in the process of learning new strategies, make sure you take a look at some of our recorded webinars, because a lot of the questions that you may be asking is probably covered in one of these webinar topics that we do. So today I'm going to walk you guys through the full platform. I'll walk you through how to research a stock, and then more importantly, how to actually leverage your ideas into an actual trading strategy or an income strategy. Those are the two primary reasons that people typically use options for, is either buying options to speculate or selling options to generate income. So we'll go over both and show you how you can do that very, very quickly using our platform, even if you've never traded an option before. So our platform itself is divided into 3 sections. Let me make my screen a little bigger here. It's divided into 3 sections. We have trade ideas and watch list here on the left-hand side of your screen. In the middle is our security analysis panel, giving you snapshot data of the underlying stock or ETF. And lastly, on the right-hand side, we have trading and income. So we call these 3 panels the what, the why, and the how of options trading, because when you're starting your day, you want to know what symbols should I take a look at. So that's where trade ideas comes in. These are fresh ideas for you every single day, and they're sorted for you by bullish and bearish strategies so that you can quickly sort and filter the ideas to only look at ones that maybe you want to pay attention to. So whether you're looking for bearish ideas or bullish ideas, you can quickly look at large cap, small cap, and even the different sectors if you want quickly to find some ideas to look at. Once you do that, it populates the rest of the screen. You have our security analysis panel here in the middle that lets you know why you should consider taking a look at it. And lastly, trading income, which tells you how to take advantage of that. So this is designed to help quickly make your decision every single morning as to what to look at as easy as possible. We also have watch lists that are pre-built for you. I always start off my day looking at the watch list just to get an idea as far as what's going on with the sectors. I highly recommend for any of you that are trading to always look at the sectors and where the overall market is. It's really important to know where the overall market is and where the overall sectors are, because we usually sort our sectors by the score, which is our technical rank. This gives us an idea as far as quantifying the relative strength of all the sectors. So I know which sectors are strong, which sectors are weak, and quickly be able to figure out which sectors I want to pay attention to for that day. And it also gives you an idea as far as what's moving. So I can tell you today, industrials and financials were some or the big winners today. And all the sectors were green. So telling me all sectors participated in the rally today. So this is telling me that the market has some strength versus other days when half the sectors are up and the other half of the sectors are down. That tells me that there's a bit of sector rotation and stocks are moving from one sector to another, versus like today, all sectors are green, telling me the market overall is moving in conjunction with each other higher. So that tells me there's more strength, and that gives me more confidence that I'm looking for bullish opportunities today. And we also have pre-built watch lists for you for the individual sectors. So if you want to drill down into an individual sector and look at the stocks within that sector, you can quickly do that. And lastly, we always encourage users to add their own watch list. So if you have stocks that you want to watch, you can easily create your own watch list and immediately enter the stocks that you want to enter very quickly into your own watch list. So regardless of what type of trading that you do, whether you're looking for fresh ideas from us or you have your own pre-built watch list, you can do that very quickly using our watch list functionality. So that covers what symbols should you look at. Once you've covered the trade ideas and watch list, now we want to pay attention to why should we take a look at it. So let's take a look at GE. And I'm just picking this stock randomly. There's no particular, I'm not suggesting that you trade this stock, and this is not a solicitation to trade the stock. This is simply just for educational purposes. But what we provide you is with snapshot data to let you know what's currently going on with the stock very, very quickly without having to pull up a chart, without having to pull up a balance sheet, without having to pull up a lot of different information. We want to give you a gauge for where the stock currently is. So we do that by 2 metrics. We give you the 1-month and 6-month trend, which gives you an idea as far as the trend of the short and long term of each individual stock. And we have what's called a technical score. This is a relative strength ranking, letting you know how strong a stock is compared to the overall market. So GE here has a score of 2, which is telling you this is very weak stock, underperforming the overall market, and the trends are bearish. Not only are the trends bearish, but it's been bearish for quite some time. As you can see below the chart, we tell you how that trend quality has changed over time. So I can, without having to do a lot of research on GE, I know that GE is trending lower and it's one of the weaker stocks in the market. So generally speaking, if I'm looking at these types of stocks, I'm looking for bearish opportunities. Conversely, if let's say we pull up a stock like Apple, we get a very opposing picture. As you can see, the 1 month and 6 month trends are bullish. Its technical score is 9, telling me this is a very strong stock that's outperforming the overall market. So these are the types of candidates that I would be looking for if I'm looking for bullish opportunities. So between these two indicators alone, you can click on any single stock and get a pretty good reading as to what's currently going on with it. So Micron was an interesting stock because it was a stock that recently broke below some support level around 51 just yesterday. As you can see, the 1 month, 6 month trend was bearish, but it just turned bearish just a few days ago when it was around 52. So there's definitely, I think, some potential more downside to a stock like this where the technical score is neutral. So it's a relatively neutral stock. Potential opportunities to get short on a stock like this. As you can see, it also crossed below its 200-day moving average today. So these are all different things that we scan for that allow you to give you a snapshot data of what's the most important thing going on for each individual stock very, very quickly on your screens without having to pull up different research portals, without having to go to different places to get your technical research or charts. This is all designed to give you that snapshot data very, very quickly. So once you gain a directional view on any underlying stock, so let's say we're looking on Micron here, and we feel that this is a bearish stock and it's going to continue going lower. As you can see, this was a very strong stock for a very long time, but it's starting to break lower. So perhaps you think that this stock's going to start moving lower. How do you actually take advantage of that? So this is really where why we created OptionsPlay. Not only did we want to simplify your research for each individual stock from a few minutes down to a few seconds, but we realized that once you had a view on an underlying stock, when you're looking at a page that looks like this, it's really difficult to figure out exactly how do I take advantage of my view. So I'm bullish on Apple or I'm bearish on Micron. How do I actually maximize my profit from that view? And we realized that when you're looking at the option chains, it's not completely obvious because you have so many different expirations, so many different strike prices, and you have so many different strategies you can trade. None of that is really apparent when you're looking at this page as to what's best, what will actually give me my maximum profit. If I think Micron's going to go lower, if I think Apple's going to go higher. That's why we created OptionsPlay. We wanted to give you strategies side by side and actually show you how they would perform so that you understand what your potential profits and what your potential risks are before you get into a trade. So that's what I want to walk you guys through here today. So I have Micron technology here. I have two buttons here at the bottom. One says I'm bullish, one says I'm bearish. So right now I'm going to click on the bearish side because I'm bearish on this particular stock. As you can see, I have three strategies. I can short the stock, I can buy a put, or I can buy a put spread. So this tells me here are three viable strategies as a starting point. So not only do we provide you with three strategies and not just one, which accounts for the three most popular strategies that people would trade if they're bearish on a stock, but we also wanted to provide you with analytics so that you can actually compare them. And these strategies already have starting points for you. So you don't have to pick an expiration date. You don't have to pick a strike price. They're already provided to you as decent starting points. So, what we have here is shorting the stock, which is the only option that you have if you're trading stocks only. But we also have a at the money 45-day put. And the reason we use a 45-day at the money put is because that's usually a pretty good starting point if you're not sure exactly how bullish or how bearish you are. An at the money put is usually a good starting point for someone who's evaluating a bearish view on a specific stock. And the put vertical has optimized strikes for you. So we have what we're doing is we're buying an at the money put and we're selling a put that's one standard deviation away. That gives you just enough premium for that short leg that offsets the cost of buying that long leg, but it's far enough away from the current price that it's unlikely the stock's going to reach that price between now and expiration date, giving you an optimized spread. And we're going to walk you through why we call that the optimized spread. So not only did we want to provide you with three starting points and put it side by side, we wanted to give you the tools to really evaluate these so that you definitively know which strategy is best suited for you. And what we created is what's called a P&L simulator. So if any of you have ever learned about the Greeks, you know that Delta tells you how much the option will move if the stock moves a certain amount. And you might learn theta, which tells you how much the time decay will affect the price of an option as time goes on. And for those of you that are a bit more advanced, you might have learned a concept called vega, which is telling you how much volatility affects the price of your option. Now, those are all great things to understand conceptually, and even better to know how to calculate them. However, we don't want to do the math ourselves a lot of times. We just want to be told what the end result is. And that's really why we created the P&L simulator, because it's one thing to learn it conceptually, but you still have to end up doing that math. And we don't really always want to sit there crunching numbers when we're trying to make a decision on trading strategies. Our P&L simulator is designed to make those calculations for you, so you just get the end result immediately, which is how much profit am I going to make, or how much risk am I going to take by placing these trades. So Micron's trading at $47 right now. What happens if I think the stock's going to drop down to 37, which is the next support level, or somewhere in between that? Let's say I think the stock's going to go down to 42. This allows you to, instead of having to pull up the delta and calculate if the stock goes down by $5, how much money I'm going to make, it just tells you, it just calculates all that for you so that you don't have to do any of these manual calculations. So if you shorted the stock, you make a 10% return. If you bought the put option, it cost you an 81% return. If you bought the spread, you make a 105% return. As you can see, shorting the stock will cost you a substantial amount of margin versus buying a put only costs you $330. Buying a put vertical only costs you $292. So as you can see, the amount of money you pay for your put or put vertical is the amount of money that you have at risk. So one of the reasons that we like to trade these verticals here on the right is because you generally put a very small amount of capital at risk by putting a smaller amount of capital at risk, it gives you a higher return if you are correct on the trade. So you have this asymmetrical risk that allows you to really apply leverage when you're correct, but also at the same time, if let's say for any reason you're wrong on the trade, to actually limit the amount of risk that you have on the trade, because your absolute risk is how much you've paid for it. So this allows you to really play around with how far you think the stock's going to go and see what the potential return is. So as you can see, if you think the stock's going to go down to 37, it'll tell you actually the best trade to make here is just simply buying that put, because that put vertical will cap your risk at some point below $40. So if you think it's really going to go down to 37, you're better off just buying the put. And this allows you to really compare strategies side by side and know definitively which one gives you the best risk to reward. Because you can also use this tool to say, well, what if I'm wrong and Micron goes back up to 55 or 56, which is where it just was a few days ago? How much money am I going to lose? So if you had shorted the stock, you'd be losing close to $900 on this trade. So not only are you putting up more capital to trade, but if you're wrong, you're actually losing more money versus if I bought this put, I lose $330 versus if I bought this put vertical, I only lose $292. And that's why this strategy here on the right has the highest OptionsPlay score, because not only am I risking less money, but if I'm right, for the most part, I'm going to make a higher return on the put vertical than I am on any of the other two. So think about not just what your potential return is or what your potential risk is, but think about it from a risk-adjusted perspective. What gives you the best risk to reward in the long run? And that's what the OptionsPlay score helps you quantify so that you can easily compare one strategy to another. Because most platforms will give you a strategy that looks like this, which tells you the put has a maximum reward of $4,470, but the stock has to go to zero in order for that to happen. And that's probably unlikely going to happen in the next 43 days. So it's not a fair comparison to compare something that has $4,400 in max reward versus something that only has $508 in max reward. That's why we created the OptionsPlay, to allow you to really compare strategies apples to apples and see which one gives you the best reward. So this is all designed to help you quickly identify, starting points, giving you the tools so that you can see what each one of the strategies, how they will perform. And we have other tools to, especially for those of you that are brand new, to understand more about these strategies. So we have a plain English tab designed to give you a better understanding of what a put vertical is if you've never traded a put vertical before. We have a risk and investment calculator that allows you to say, well, what happens if I'm willing to risk $2,500 on this trade? How many contracts can I buy? So that you can short 53 shares, you can buy 7 contracts of the puts, or you can buy 8 contracts to this put vertical so that you can actually calculate the appropriate number of contracts to trade. And then we also have a trading range simulator. This is really for those of you that are a bit more advanced and want to know what is the expected trading range for a stock for any given expiration, so that you can use this to see what are my expected trading ranges within certain time frames based on the implied volatility of an option. And lastly, for those of you that are a bit more advanced and want to play around with it, we call this platform OptionsPlay for a reason, because we want you to be able to trade, to play around with it, try different expirations, try different strike prices. There are a lot of options that you can trade. So we're not saying that this is the best one, but we're just saying that this is a decent starting point for most people. So if you want to change the expiration date, if you want to change the strike prices, we do it all with we try to make the navigation of the full options chain as easy as possible. Not only do you get the price on the strike drop down, you also get an indication of where the one standard deviation move is based on your given expiration date, so that you can quickly figure out which strike prices you want to buy or sell and know the exact prices on the actual strike drop down menu. A lot of places don't give you that, so it makes it really difficult to play around with the different strike prices. And we can allow you to make the spreads narrower or wider just by the click of a mouse. You can move the strikes up one or down one just by the click of a mouse. This is all designed to make the navigation of playing around with different strikes and expirations as easy as possible. And lastly, for those of you that are trying to trade other strategies, these are the three most popular strategies, but many of you like to trade other types of strategies. So if you want to trade a credit spread instead of a debit spread, you can do that very quickly, set up a debit spread, fiddle with the strikes and expirations, and very quickly see how the strategies will perform using the P&L simulator. So this is all designed to allow you to quickly get to a starting point, play around with it, utilize the tools so that you know exactly how much risk or reward you have, so that you're not surprised after you get into a trade, so that you're fully aware of what your potential profits are, what your potential risks are, so that once you get into a trade, nothing is a surprise to you. And that's really the key of why we wanted to create OptionsPlay, because sometimes you buy a call and the stock goes up by 3% and you don't really know how much money you're expecting to make off of that 3% move. We want you to know those numbers before you get into a trade, so nothing comes as a surprise. And lastly, if you're looking at a trade and you want to place that trade, you can simply hit the trade button and we give you all the information in order to enter this trade into your brokerage platform. This is designed so that you can trade these strategies at any different brokerage firm, and you have all the details as to how to enter that trade into your brokerage platform. So what I want to do is actually go through just one more example of a trading strategy, just to make sure that everyone understands how to utilize this platform. I'll use Apple as an example just because this is a very popular stock, very bullish stock. Pretty much everyone here is probably familiar with this. And I wanted to walk you guys through just one more example of how to utilize this platform. So as you can see, Apple here, the 1 month and 6 month trends are bullish. The technical score here is very strong, telling me this is a stock that's outperforming the overall market, and the trend has continued to move higher for over a period of time. So maybe you're looking for some bullish opportunities. So I'm going to click on I'm bullish. And as you can see, I have 3 opportunities. I can buy the stock, I can buy a call, and I can buy a call spread. So especially for those of you that are investors in stocks, this is a really good comparison that you would typically make as to, should I buy the stock or should I buy a call option? So really, as you can see, buying 100 shares of this stock costs you $21,000. Buying one contract only costs you $615, a very small percentage of the underlying cost to buy 100 shares. And then you can buy a vertical here for only $527. So let's actually compare these strategies and see how they actually compare. And that's really where the P&L simulator comes into play. So if, let's say you think the stocks, which is at 213 right now, is going to go up to, let's say, 215. So you think it's just going to move modestly higher. As you can see, only the stock will give you any return, only 1% return if the stock goes to 215. But if you bought a call option or if you bought a vertical, you'd actually lose money. So this is actually one of the examples why I encourage users to use the P&L simulator, because especially for the newer options traders, this might not make a lot of sense. That, why would a call option lose money if the stock went up? And that's really because of time value. And that's one of the things that we can teach using this slider, is how the the options will actually decay in value as time goes on if all things remain constant. So as you can see, just because the stock goes up by about 1%, you'll make money initially, but as time goes by, you're actually going to erode value, and that's really time decay. So as you can see, the stock really needs to move a bit higher before it overcomes that time decay. So for the vertical here, it has to move up to around 218 before this strategy becomes profitable, or actually, sorry, a little lower, around 217.90 for this strategy to be profitable, and about 218 for the call to be profitable. And that's really what these sliders are here for, is to help you not only learn about each strategy, but actually see how the strategy will perform in different market conditions. And you can really play around with this and see what your absolute risk is, what your absolute return is, just very quickly by playing around with these sliders. And that's really the key of why you should consider using these tools to help you gauge risk reward, so that you understand these things before you place a trade. One of the most common things that we hear from traders about why they don't trade options, or why they're afraid to trade options, is because they're perceived to be risky and they don't understand that risk. And that's really why we created the P&L simulator, so that you fully understand the risk before you place a trade. And once you've honed in on a trade that you want to make, once again, you hit the trade button. We even have a strategy checklist. This is really designed for those of you that are newer to options, to making sure that you understand your risks. So you know a few different things that you should be aware of. Are you trading with the trend of the stock? Are you trading with the trend of the market? How's the OptionsPlay score? Is there earnings between now and expiration? A very common thing that we see beginners tending to overlook when they're trading options is when earnings is coming up. So making sure you understand that before you place a trade is critical. And lastly, spread and liquidity. We want you to understand how liquid something is before you place a trade. Not something you really worry about when you're trading when you're trading stocks, but definitely something you want to pay attention to when you're trading options, so that you're not stuck in a trade that you can't get out of later, because we want you to understand liquidity of something based on the bid and ask spread. And we analyze that and provide it to you in pretty color-coded guide, so you know that green is good, red is bad, and quickly be able to decipher as to whether this is a trade that you want to make. So that's how you would utilize our platform to quickly find bullish or bearish trading strategies. All you have to do is type in any single stock. You can have two buttons. You can click on I'm bullish or I'm bearish and instantly be presented with 3 bullish strategies on an individual stock, or click on I'm bearish and be presented with 3 bearish strategies instantly. So this is designed to help explore for those of you that are brand new, so that you can find starting points to play around with. And for those of you that are experienced, this is designed to save you time, because the amount of time it takes to go through these chains, pick different expiration dates, pick different strike prices as your starting point, is going to take a lot longer than just simply clicking on I'm bullish and be presented with the ideal starting point, so that you can start playing around with, analyzing, and potentially start placing trades within a few seconds and not a few minutes. So that gives you an idea as far as how to utilize our platform for instantly finding trading strategies for whether you're bullish or bearish. More importantly, many of you actually utilize options to sell options for income. So actually, for many of you that are brand new, selling cover calls is actually a really good starting point. We actually have a specific webinar just on that. But today, what I'm going to walk you through is how to quickly utilize our platform to find options selling opportunities, selling cover calls, selling short puts to generate income on your portfolio. So before I get started, what we want to show you is, number one, you click on the income tab and it presents you with, instead of 3 strategies, 2 strategies. You have your cover call on the left, you have your short put here on the right. And before we actually start taking a look at them, I highly recommend everyone to utilize our income settings, because we want to make sure that we provide income selling opportunities that are based on your personal preferences. So you can choose different time frames depending on how far out you typically sell. So I trade fairly actively, so I typically choose short-term options to sell. And my risk tolerance is not too conservative and not too aggressive, so I'm really somewhere in between. So I choose the optimal risk tolerance when it comes to selling cover calls. And then for puts, you can set them independently of each other. So selling puts is a little bit more advanced of a strategy, but it's a really good alternative to buying stock, is selling some puts, which help you generate some income and potentially buy the stock at a lower price. So you can set these independently of each other. So when I sell puts, I like to get more aggressive. And once I save this as default, for any symbol that I type in or click on for my watch list, I don't have to pull up a chain ever again. I instantly know exactly what my ideal starting point is for selling covered calls and short puts. So I can even type in how many shares of Johnson & Johnson I own. So let's say I own 300 shares. It tells me that I should look at the September 3rd, 135.5 covered calls. Johnson & Johnson's trading at 132.5, so about $2.50 out of the money. This is telling me to sell at 135, that 135 cover call that expires in 22 days. And it gives me all the pertinent information that I need in order to decide, is this a trade I want to make? So Johnson & Johnson pays a 2.76% dividend yield. So a pretty nice dividend for an S&P 500 stock. But as you can see, this cover call, I'm going to get an additional 5% on top of that annualized, which brings my total yield for the year to 7.7% up from 2.7%. So I'm increasing my yield almost twofold by adding these types of strategies to my account. So that's exactly why covered calls is one of the most popular strategies amongst traders, because if you have any stock in your account, covered calls is a great way to add some additional yield to your portfolio without adding any additional risk to your portfolio and generate some yield. So this is really designed to help you make that process of selecting a cover call as easy as possible. Because if you've ever spent any time searching for cover calls on your option chain, you'll know that it takes quite a bit of time to find the expiration date, find the strike price, look at the premiums to calculate how much yield you're going to get. That is a very time-consuming task. Sometimes if you have 10 different stocks to trade, that might take you an hour to research all 10 stocks and figure out which ones to sell. Here, I can click on a symbol and within a few seconds know exactly where my starting point is, have all the information that I need to know as to whether this is a trade that I want to make, and if this looks attractive enough to me, then all I have to do is hit the trade button and I get all the information I need in order to place this trade in my broker's platform. Conversely, for those of you that are selling puts, you can click on no, you don't own shares of this stock. And now it's going to give you the short put opportunity. So here, as you can see, I can sell the September 7th 360 put, so about $10 below the current price. It's going to generate me $360, which is roughly 1% of the underlying price. And I get to do that in the next 22 days. So imagine being able to place a limit order to buy the stock at 360, which is what you're doing if you're selling a put. And if the stock ends up below 360 in the next 22 days, you're going to actually own the stock at 360 minus the $360 that you received in the premium. So you've basically lowered the cost basis of your stock by 1% and you're picking it up at 360. So this is really why it's a really attractive way to potentially dollar cost average into the stocks that you want to own long term without having to buy the stock at the current price. As you can see, I can click on a stock and within 2 seconds and not have to pull up a chain, not have to go through pages and pages of options to figure out where to start. This gives me my ideal starting point for both income strategies to sell cover calls and short put opportunities for those of you that like to sell puts as an alternative to buying the stock. And this is all designed, again, to make your life as simple as possible. We want you to trade options, but we don't want you to have to spend hours and hours researching the stock, spending your time on the option chains. This is designed to make your process of researching a stock and finding the option strategies to trade as simple and as easy as possible. So with that, I just want to conclude real quick by telling you, please take a look at the Learn to Trade Options page for those of you that are looking to learn more about option strategies. We cover a lot of different strategies such as generating income, directional strategies, how to get started for those of you that are newer to options trading, and then for the more advanced traders, trading things like debit spreads, credit spreads, the difference between the two, trading earnings, even hedging your portfolio. We cover all of these topics in our webinars, so I highly recommend you to continue to attend these webinars as we go through these topics live. But for those of you that are looking to learn, make sure that you go through these videos because they're extremely useful in helping you understand how to not only understand how to conceptually trade these types of strategies. But more importantly, we show you how to actually do it on our platform. So not only do you learn the concept of it, you actually learn how to practically apply it using our platform. And we think that that's one of the most important parts of options education, is not just understanding it, but knowing and having the tools to actually implement the things after you learn a specific strategy. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up for a Q&A. If any of you have any questions on any of the stuff that I've talked about here today, please type them into the chat window and I will answer as many questions as possible. This webinar is recorded, so you will have the recording in your inbox in about half an hour after we finish here, so that you can review this at any time. So please, if you have any questions, please type them into the chat window and I'll answer as many questions as possible. So David's asking, what are the chances of assignment in a vertical trade? So that's a great question, David. That really depends on whether you're trading a debit trade or a debit spread or a credit spread. So generally speaking, it depends on the legs that you sell. Most of these you have relatively lower probability, because especially on the debit trade, you almost have very little probability because the stock needs to go below that short leg in order for that to even be feasible. And we are picking strikes that usually have about a 15% probability of that happening. If you're selling credit spreads, those probabilities get a little higher. Depends on how far out of the money you're selling these credit spreads. If you're selling a very far out of the money credit spread, your probabilities are also very low. But usually trades don't get assigned early, meaning the person who exercises a trade early is giving up money. So that's why it rarely makes sense to exercise a call early. So usually what we tell people is make sure you sell the spreads that you're buying before expiration. And that's one of the best ways to avoid assignment on a vertical trade. I got a question here. Is your past recommendations accessible? So we get this question a lot, and the answer is absolutely. It's at optionsplay.com/dailyplay. It's where you can find all of our daily plays. The history of it is all here on the Daily Plays website, optionsplay.com/dailyplay. David's asking, based on market data, does the platform recommend whether to take bullish or bearish strategies? Yes. So based on our trend indicators, we will default to one of the two strategies. So as you can see here on Facebook, because the trend indicators are bearish, we're going to show you by default the 3 bearish strategies, but you can always override this. So if you feel like you're bullish on Facebook, you can click on I'm bullish and trade the opposite strategy. We don't have a directional bias. We want to provide you with a balanced view. So regardless of what your views are, you can use our platform for that. And that's actually a good segue. A lot of people ask us about our daily plays. Sometimes by the time you're ready to execute the trade, the market has moved, or maybe you disagree with our daily play. Maybe you are looking at a trade and you have a complete opposite view on the trade. That's one of the powers of our platform, is not only do we provide you with ideas, but we also provide you with a platform to come up with your own strategies if the market has moved or if you disagree with our strategy. So if we came up with a strategy today to say we're bearish on Facebook and you should look at buying a put spread, but you for whatever reason decide that we're wrong and you think that Facebook's going to go higher, then the power of our platform is all you have to do is click on I'm bullish, and you can have a strategy right here instantly to allow you to take a bullish view on Facebook. No other platform or provider service in the world provides that. And that's really one of the keys to why we provide this platform and the ideas, so that not only do you get ideas, but you also can actually create your own strategies off of those ideas if you disagree with our ideas. Tim is saying, I don't have income settings on my screen. Tim, why don't you send me an email at info@optionsplay.com and I'm happy to take a look at your account, but you should have income strategies on your screen. If I cannot get in the vertical spread at the price shown, can I enter the price I got? Absolutely. That's exactly my point here, is so that let's say we told you to buy this spread and it was trading at 580, but now it's trading at 630. That's why we have this platform, so that you can view the more up-to-date pricing and potentially fill it at that prices. Chances are, if the market has moved, the strike prices may have changed as well. So you may be trading a different strike price than we are. But that's really, again, the key of our platform, so that you don't have to just follow what we say blindly. You can use our platform to figure out what is the better trade to make at the time that you're ready to execute the trade. Alfred, yes, absolutely. That will recalculate the risk to reward. Gary, is your directional edge watch list still created or is available to all? The directional edge watch list was just a one that I created for the webinar. This list of stocks is by no means a list of stocks that has directional edge. This is just one that I created. I named it directional edge, but they're just a bunch of random stocks that I felt during that time that we did the webinar was going to communicate the message that I was trying to show you. I just created a bunch of different stocks that had different possibilities, so that we had bullish stocks that were turning around, bearish stocks that were turning around, and just strong bullish and strong bearish stocks. So that's all that was. That wasn't anything. We're not recommending you to trade that stock. So it's just a watch list that I created with a bunch of random names in it. Regarding credit spreads, is there a way to easily ascertain risk to reward ratio on a specific trade? Absolutely. So when you click on the modify button, well, one of the things that we recommend you to use in terms of understanding risk to reward is the OptionsPlay score. That's what the OptionsPlay score is designed to do, is to give you an idea as far as how is the risk to reward on this trade. Is it good? Is it bad? Because risk to reward on its own is not enough of a picture. You also have to look at the probability of that risk to reward. And sometimes when you're looking at these types of strategies, it's not easy to calculate that in your head. Even for me, there are some calculations that you can do back of the envelope, but those are still just approximations. Our OptionsPlay score calculates the actual probabilities of making that potential reward and weights it by the probabilities of you losing that money, and weights the two by each other and tells you how good that risk reward is. That's what the OptionsPlay score is designed to do. So I highly recommend, regardless of what strategy you trade, pay attention to the OptionsPlay score. It's telling you what the risk reward of each strategy is. Do you have a program where you do real live transactions with a group of students for them to learn and also to transact? So we're not a trading service here. We are an education and platform provider. We're here to educate you on how to utilize this platform so you are self-sufficient in how to trade. Because if you're just following what someone else does, chances are you probably don't have the same schedule as that person. You probably have a different risk tolerance than that person. And that's where it gets a little hairy, because you're expecting to do the exact same thing that someone else does. But unless you have the exact same schedule and the exact same risk tolerance, that's not always feasible. So that's why we encourage you to learn how to utilize this platform and trade your own style, because we all have our own different preferences and our own different trading styles, schedules, risk tolerances, account sizes. These are all things that you have to put into consideration when you're trading. And that's why we want to provide you with the tools so that you are self-sufficient and you're not just following what someone else says blindly, because that almost never works out well in the long run. David saying, NVIDIA's tanking. Is our current trade okay? So I've been on this webinar. I don't know where NVIDIA's trading right now. Sounds like NVIDIA's down after hours. We had a short trade on one of our trade ideas. So if that's the case, then I certainly think that NVIDIA, that trade is doing well right now. But I'll be honest, I have not been watching this market as we've been doing this webinar. So I will look at that once we're done. Raymond, I don't know what portfolio tracking, is it possible to demonstrate? So Raymond, that's a tool that we are, that's only available to subscribers. So we can certainly walk you through that. So if you want to send me an email at info@optionsplay.com, I'm happy to answer any questions you have regarding that. Jerry's asking, is there a percentage or dollar level you look at for buying ideal credit trade? I'm not sure what you mean by buying ideal credit trade and what you mean by percentage or dollar amounts, because credit trades, I highly recommend you to go watch our video on trading credit spreads. Credit spreads are a great tool for generating income, and they are used in very specific market conditions. So I highly recommend you to view our video on how to trade credit spreads if you have questions about trading credit spreads. And if you're concerned about whether you should trade debit or credit, I also have another one on comparing debit spreads versus credit spreads. So if you're trying to figure out kind of which trade you should make, I highly recommend you to watch these two videos. It'll really help educate you on the difference between the two and when to use credit spreads and what are the best practices for credit spreads. David, NVIDIA's down 247 down 11 bucks. Well, that's really great news because we had a short trade on Nvidia. I see that right now. You know, we had a few bad earnings trades over the last few weeks with Facebook, with Netflix. So I certainly am looking forward to one earnings trade that is working in our favor here. So it sounds like Nvidia is working out pretty well. We'll probably be taking profit on this tomorrow morning. The last webinar, I asked about info to learn about technical analysis, and you gave a website, but I lost it. Oh, great. So stockcharts.com is one of the, in my opinion, one of the best resources for technical analysis, and they have a thing called the Chart School. It's probably one of the best ways to learn about technical analysis as a beginner. It covers all different forms of technical analysis, charting, different forms of charting, different indicators you can use, and they provide you with the actual charting software afterwards. So if you want to learn more about some of those, I highly recommend you to look at stockcharts.com. Any other questions regarding anything that we went over here today? If there are no more questions, again, I just want to thank everyone for taking the time out this afternoon. Today was more of an informal webinar. Just wanted to show you guys how to utilize this tool, what the different features are, how we use this tool to find trades, to look at trades, how to evaluate them, and the different functionalities that are provided to you. And lastly, I just want to show for those of you that are looking to share a trade, you can always click on the expand button for any of these strategies, which is the little blue button on the P&L chart. This just gives you a more blow-up strategy or a blow-up view of each individual strategy. It allows you to share it if you want to social media, send it to a friend, or even send it to us if you have a question regarding a specific trade. Mike, thank you very much. Any other questions before I sign off for the day? Like I said, this webinar is recorded and will be provided to you in about half an hour. So look out for that recording. Make sure you take the time out to view this webinar. If you're a first-time viewer on some of our webinars, I welcome you, and I hope that you guys find this useful. And just a bit of housekeeping. Our webinar next Thursday, I'm going to have to move it to next Tuesday. So I'll be sending out an email tomorrow letting people know about that schedule change. If you're already registered for that webinar, you don't have to do anything. It's just changing the date. You don't have to re-register. I just want everyone to know that I have to change the date of next Thursday's webinar to next Tuesday. So if there's no more questions, I hope everyone has a great afternoon, and I'll see you guys next week. Have a great afternoon.